All right, Simon, how you doing, buddy?
Doing
Good to
great,
see you
thank
again.
you, thank you.
Welcome to the original 420 brand studios here.
Thank you very much.
Kind of rough right now, but hey, we'll make it better as we go along.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Thank you. So, you've brought me some killer LED lights. I love these things. What can you tell me about them? Why don't you tell me about your lights here?
So these are brand new lights. They're just introduced to the market.
Yep.
And one of our first outlets is through the original 420. They're great lights. They produce more light for a given amount of watts than any other light on the market.
So these are considered 150 watt lights, right? So
Correct.
what would you compare that to like a metal halide?
So these produce roughly between 22 and 24,000 lumens in the power region.
Okay.
That is between 400 and 700 nanometers, the visible spectrum.
Yep.
And it's equivalent to lights that would normally consume about 350 watts of alternative technologies.
So 150 watt light, LED, that's the amount of power it's basically using, equivalent to a 350 watt metal halide or HPS.
Correct.
That's awesome. So obviously my electric bill is going to go down. That's what excites me a lot right now.
Absolutely.
My electric bill is $3,300 a month.
Wow.
Just,
Yeah.
on a 20 light setup.
Yeah.
So what would you say, if I were to run this in my veg and in my bloom, which obviously you have two different colored lights here, so we can do veg and bloom, what's my electricity bill going to go down?
It's going to go down, actually, percentage-wise, probably less than 50%. And the reason for it is that not only are you not putting the power in to begin with,
Yeah.
but your HVAC costs will go down because these are not producing nearly as much heat into the room as they would otherwise.
That's awesome. So coming into summertime, I run CO2 tanks in the summer to get my CO2 in the room. During the wintertime, I run CO2 generators off of natural gas. So, but it's just a propane burner basically, puts off a lot of heat. I can't do that in the summer. So I had these plugged in at a trade show 2 weeks ago, all day long. And it was freezing inside the trade show. So I kept hoping I could put my hands on here and warm my hands up. They didn't work. So are they broken or they just don't put off heat?
They just don't put out any heat. So look,
it's amazing.
Yeah. So one of the things is that you've heard of the laws of thermodynamics, and you can't create energy. You can only convert it. These are really good
Makes sense.
LED fixtures to convert the power into light, as opposed to converting it into heat. Now,
So if I have 100 watts of electricity going into a light, and that light's burning hot, so that means probably 60% of my electricity is being turned into heat.
that is correct. If you
40% in the light.
if you look at other fixtures, you can't even touch them
No.
even 20 minutes after you shut them down before you can
Yeah.
actually touch them. Well, that heat that you're getting there is just wasted energy. You turn it into heat. It's basically a good
So
heater.
I'm paying the electricity
Exactly.
to heat
exactly.
my room,
You're
and then I'm paying the
twice
air conditioning
to cool it down.
to cool it.
Correct.
All right.
So these are very, very efficient. The reason they run, we have a very proprietary way to cool these that is very, very unique. They run just a few degrees above ambient, typically less than 10 degrees, even in worse conditions, above the
That's
ambient
awesome.
conditions. So they never
So the
warm
heat
up.
on the leaves too is
Correct.
not there.
Right, so they gently heat the leaves. If you put your hand below it, you'll
Yep.
feel a little bit of temperature, but it's very gentle. So it heats the canopy slightly, but it doesn't overheat them.
It's more of a UV heat than an actual radiant heat, isn't it?
Well, it's still considered radiant heat,
Yeah.
but it's a gentle heat
Yeah.
where it doesn't.
Like I said, I had these burning all day at a trade show, and I put our hand down underneath there. This piece of metal was still cold.
Yeah,
It just never
absolutely.
got hot.
That's exact. They were doing exactly what they're supposed to do. So if you
So
touch
that's
it on the
amazing.
sides, it's
Yep.
absolutely just slightly above the ambient.
And
at
we'll
all
plug these in here in a little bit. The reason we don't have them on right now for our cameras here is we'd be blinded. Even though it's a 150 watt light, I'm blown away by how much light comes out of it. So I know one of these was for veg. It was a pure white light. Now the other one was kind of a purple color. Can you explain that?
So look, we're going back to the way the plants have developed over thousands of years. basically they're pre-programmed to accept light, the ambient light like we get from the sun.
Yep.
So they want a very broad spectrum of light coming in. But scientists have found over the years that an enhancement of the broadband light with a little bit more blue and a lot more red helps them perform much, much better. So our recommendation for most people is to have a mixture of the two.
A 50-50 mixture?
50-50 typically works
Awesome,
perfectly.
awesome.
We've done a lot of experimentation with 66-33.
Yeah. And it's kind of strain specific too,
It-
right?
it
You
is.
may want to have 3 and then 4,
Correct. Yeah,
depending on the strain.
correct. Some strains are, enjoy more of the red.
Yeah.
Beautiful thing about the GH150, which is the lights we're talking about,
Yeah.
is that you can plug and play and mix and match whatever combination you want. So you start out at 50-50, which seems to work very well for the vast majority of strains.
Yep.
But you can change that mix
Tailor it
as
up.
you need it by just simply plugging and unplugging the right
Awesome.
fixture.
And I see your plugs here. I know when I was plugging them in, they make a nice, strong, tight connection.
That is-
And they actually have a lock on them. Now, are these waterproof?
These are waterproof.
Awesome. How about the light itself?
the light itself is damp proof, so it's
Moisture resistant?
moisture resistant.
Don't spray a hose on it, but if you get dew in your greenhouse, then condensation, it's not going to affect it.
It's not going to affect it. They should not there shouldn't be any things condensing on them. But should there be, the top portion of it is IP68, so it's very much waterproof.
Okay.
And then any moisture that may come out will condense down
gonna
the
drip
side.
off,
It will
so.
not get into anywhere near the electronics.
Great. That's awesome. Like I said, after having these on, I was blown away by how much light, because literally, I thought it was more than 350 watt equivalent. I mean, it seemed to me like it was at least 600 watt equivalent in light.
Yeah.
That's how bright they were. Even at the show, we had to have them down on the ground, because if we put them up on the table, we would have been blinded. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
I'm blown away by how much light comes out of them. There's a lot of other LED lights on the market, and I've seen these big ones with these big hoods. This is ideally situated for greenhouses.
Absolutely.
Okay, you can use it indoors.
Absolutely.
But the benefit to the greenhouse, it seems to me, is it's the size of an oil can.
That is correct.
So you're not blocking the sunlight during the day. So in a light depth situation, where say we want to run our lights, 4 to 6 hours a day, just to keep them in that 18-hour brightness of light, to keep them from tripping. During the daytime, I'm not blocking the sunlight with these. What's the actual square footage of blockage compared to, so who's the biggest competition?
Let's not use it particular
Okay,
names, but
it's- I've seen one that's pretty long, about as long as this table, about that wide.
yeah.
So have you measured the square footage on one of those?
Yes. Typically, they're about 1 square foot for the ones that are claiming that they are less shading.
Okay.
Okay, and
Which they are, compared to the big hoods,
right,
absolutely.
Because exactly, because there are some that
Sure.
are 2.5 to 3 square feet. Now, what's really interesting is that we get this free sunshine from the sun every day.
Yeah,
And the worst thing you can do is actually block that. So,
of course.
in our case, our square footage is only 0.19 square feet of what we actually shade from the light. It is by far the smallest footprint of any light on the market. Now, the reason shading is really critical is because every square inch, I mean, just think about the square inch, it's nothing.
Absolutely.
Okay, is the equivalent of blocking 0.7 watt
Of
light coming
Sure.
in. So if you have a 20 inch by 20 inch, the square footage is 400 square inches. It's equivalent to blocking a 300 watt free light coming from the sun every single day, nonstop,
So
for the
you're
entire time.
You're
that
just
it
shading
lights up.
your greenhouse with these big
Exactly. You
lights.
might as well not put
No.
the light on, because your benefit from the light is almost negated by what you're blocking from the sun. So
and your electric bill on top of
Exactly,
that
exactly,
at night,
exactly.
you're running 60% basically less, because you're not going to have to cool your greenhouse at all.
correct. So the
Or
neat thing,
indoor.
yeah. So the neat thing with this is that you're blocking very little. It's only 0.12, as I mentioned.
Yeah.
And if you choose the position correctly, you can put it under your rafters, and you can even reduce
Try and minimize that.
even
Little
minimize that
strategic
further.
placement.
Exactly.
So one of these lights, 150 watts, equivalent to say a 350. What's your placement in like an indoor grow where we're going to be flowering?
Mhm.
So,
So in an indoor where you're flowering, you want a higher density, and
Sure.
we typically recommend between 3 and 4 per 4x4 footprint, or
so about 2 square feet per light.
correct.
Okay.
Correct. So you place them, in a grid, 2 by 2 basically.
Every 2 feet, every 2 feet, every 2 feet.
Correct.
Okay.
And on a 4x8 table, typically you'll have 8, and some people may find that's too much light and reduce it down to 6. We recommend
Okay.
starting out with 8. The neat thing is that we also have.
So which is basically, sorry, but that's 1,200 watts.
Correct. As
Eight,
as-
4x8 table.
that's correct. And
And that's going to do as good as my 3,000 watt lights on a
That is
4x8
correct.
table. So my 4x10 tables
Mhm.
have 3,000 watt lights.
uh-huh.
So you're saying I can basically throw in 8 of these
Mhm.
and get the same growth.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the neat thing, so the
That-
typical,
that's awesome.
a lot of people talk about 1,000 light double-ended, or
Yeah.
typically they draw 1.2 kilowatts. So they're actually pulling roughly 1,200 watts, depending on the manufacturer. Some
Yeah,
a little bit
especially when
higher.
you click it to that super.
Correct, correct. If
Yeah.
you do it, some of them have the overdrive capability.
Yeah.
And in our case, it's basically 1,200 straight to do both sides of it, as opposed to 2 of the 1,200 watt per table. So it's the power reduction could be very, very significant, and for the vast majority of customers.
So in all of my, because I'm indoors in the indoor grow, we
Uh-huh.
have our greenhouse grow set up.
Mhm.
But indoor, everything's under glass. So
Mhm.
I have hooded lights with glass and then big huge vents to keep the
Mhm.
heat going
Mhm.
outside so I'm not overheating my room.
Mhm.
Glass, I know, loses anywhere from 12% on up of efficiency of a light. Not just to mention every inch you're losing power, of course, so you want to keep them down as low as you can. Then you're worried about burn.
Mhm.
You burn all the tops of your buds,
Mhm.
you just throw thousands of dollars right out the window.
Exactly.
But as those glass gets dirtier, I've seen people saying, hey, you're losing 25% of your light with a little bit of a dirty glass. So there's no glass underneath
There's
these at
no
all.
glass, right.
So how low can I put these onto the plants?
Yeah, typically you want to start them a little bit higher, closer to, assuming you're in an 8-foot or 9-foot, closer to the
Yep.
top, and then slowly bring them down until you see where it ends up, where your plants are comfortable. Typically, you want them to be between 20 and 30 inches above your canopy.
So about the same as a regular HID or LED,
Correct, and that's at
HPS
full.
light.
That's at full height.
Okay.
So,
Are these dimmable?
they are dimmable. Each one, I think, I can see, has also another waterproof connector. And if anybody would like to have them dimmable, they can easily get the cord and dim.
So through one area I can dim the whole room?
Dim the entire
Okay.
string. So one of the neat things that we have is we've really addressed the mounting and connections of these units. So I think earlier you mentioned about the waterproof connectors, and
Yep.
we have 2 different ways to connect it. One is through a distribution box that we have here, and basically you take these are plug and play. Basically, position it correctly, and then you push it in, and you are done.
Let's plug them both in. I
Sounds
know it's
good.
going to mess up our cameras here, but let's see where we're at. But yeah, so and like I said, when I had these at the show,
Mhm.
I was blown away by the coolness of them.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's still ice cold.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
it
so
can
I hear.
run-
Is that a fan running?
Yeah, there's a fan running, and it barely, audible.
Barely even hear it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And of course, in the greenhouse or in any grow, it helps
So-
circulate it, helps run it nice and cool.
Yeah. So a regular light, I wouldn't be able to put my hand that close to it.
Absolutely not.
There's no way on earth.
Yep.
I mean, that's yeah. Let's just unplug this. No, we.
But
keep
no,
going.
and leave it running for a while. Well, let's
Okay.
leave it running just to show how nice and easy it
It's
is.
too bright. I can't.
Okay, sounds good.
I'm telling you, it's not 150 watts.
Yeah.
There's just no way.
Yeah.
So, what made you come up with these?
So we heard a lot of complaints about what's out there, and then I talked to a few people in greenhouse applications and indoor, and looked at the installation, what a pain in the neck it is to wire things, and talk about the cost of running them and so on. And Look, until very recently, you know, there's a lot of the LEDs were out there, but still didn't have enough, didn't produce as much power, as much light for a given amount of watts. So LEDs initially.
Everybody's been afraid of really going. I know a couple of big places have gone LED. You know, some big companies out there that are really changing the technology. I think over the last 12, 16 months, I've seen some stuff come on the market that's pretty impressive. I've been using a big LED light in my bedroom, some other LED strip lights in my veg. I just haven't seen the results in the bloom room with them. Now in veg, very impressive. Electricity bill has gone down, and of course the heat, which is the big thing.
Yeah.
So now I don't have to have air conditioning in my veg when I started running the LED lights. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get these down into my veg and then start swapping out, you know, the blooms for these, because obviously with the prices of electricity and the market price of the product we like to grow here in California tanking, you know, we're getting down to approaching, you know, Washington and Oregon prices, which I believe now is about $2 a gram. So if you can reduce your electrical bill by 50% and not have that huge air conditioning running all the time, because it's like you're fighting back and forth. You got you got light heating up, air conditioning, and then at night you got to add heat. It's, yeah, you know what it's like. It's just it's harsh.
So yeah, this will solve a lot of the issues, you know, beyond just the lighting itself, and I think people are going to be pretty happy with them. The neat thing is we made it really easy based on the feedback that we got to make it really easy to install and uninstall.
These are plug and play.
Plug and play, basically. You have two different ways to plug them. Either the distribution box, which
And then you can daisy chain them all, right? So
so
each light doesn't have to go to a box. How many lights can you run off one of your junction boxes?
So it depends on whether you're running 110 or 220 circuit. With the 110, we recommend up to 8 lights.
Okay.
Because the amperage is twice as much. It's a 1.7 amps.
So 1.7 amps per light.
Per light, that's correct.
So you got 8 lights. What is that? 8, 6, 15, 16, 17 amps, roughly?
8 times 1.7, roughly 14 amps. 13 to 14 amps. Just
so typically you got a 20 amp breaker. So I can run like 10 of these safely on a 20 amp breaker.
Yeah, we recommend just 8. You don't want to push it too much, but you can put you know, more than that. Now on a 220 or 240 or some running 277, you can do twice as much. So easily you can put 12 of these on a 15 or 20 amp circuit, because they're only drawing at that point if they're at.
Is there a suck up draw that gets higher when they come on and then comes back down to a level? Is that surge when it comes on? Or?
Yeah, that's taken care of internally with the electronics with the unit. So that's
so you can pretty much do your maximum on your breaker.
Yeah, you don't.
I mean, you don't want to run 20, but
you
know, they
typically
say
don't want to
18 is what you want to pull on a maximum pull on a startup.
Correct. You definitely don't want to be running at the maximum because you don't want to be tripping circuits. So typically, we recommend they're only drawing 0.7 to 0.8, depending if you're 220 versus 277.
Yeah.
So at 0.8, which is on the lower end, if you're running only 220, then we recommend putting 12 of them, and you're nowhere near the upper limit of the actual.
100-foot long greenhouse, 25 feet wide, just for light depping. Probably going to run 2 rows every 10 feet.
So what we recommend, okay, depending on what you're doing, if you're only
just to keep from tripping, just like
if you're just keeping from tripping, you can put 1 every 10 foot, and we've had very good success at some of our beta sites at very sporadic.
So 30-foot wide greenhouse, you can run 2 rows every 10 feet, so basically 20 lights, well actually 18 lights.
Well, if it's
if it's a 100-foot greenhouse.
Yeah, for example, if it's a 20-foot wide, if you're 20-foot wide, you run 2 rows and 10 foot on center.
Basically, let's call it 20 lights. So basically, you can run this on 2 20 amp circuits.
So very easy, very simple.
So 4,000 watt generator.
Correct.
Now, that's amazing.
Yeah, and what we've done that's really neat.
Amazing.
What we've really done that's really neat is we have this. We'll put the graphics into the video.
Yeah.
And we have like a single line that just like this plugs into this or plugs into a regular cord, And that particular T, it's a T setup where you have a whole bunch of T's and you can plug and play just like we did into the box, but you're plugging it into.
So I don't need to bring an
into T.
electrician in and run miles of conduit, and, you know, in my greenhouse, I can literally plug this in and I'm good.
Correct, correct. So the
And,
neat
and the
thing,
ballast, obviously, everything is all right here in the head of it, so
Mhm.
you got no issues, nothing external.
yeah. So
That's
the neat
amazing.
thing is you're eliminating the installation costs and the amount of electrician work that is being done by taking care of that with a single long T. And those are customizable, so even though we have standard pitch,
Yeah.
but we are able, for a large installation, we're able to customize into whatever pitch the customer feels is appropriate light
Awesome.
level for them.
One of the things I wanted to ask you about, so that's the light right there.
Mhm.
So this is what you call flatbed LED technology. It's not those little diodes like I
Mhm.
have in my LED lights that I have right now.
Yeah, so there's different ways to approach the light themselves, and there are some lights over there where they're putting individual lights over a very, very large area.
Yep.
Clearly for a greenhouse application, it would be a no-go. The nice thing about those is that they do give a nice distribution of light over a larger area. Now, the problem with those is that they just don't have enough oomph to get past the top of the canopy. So
Yeah.
you don't get the light down underneath. The other extreme is like the large HPS 1200 watts where you got a single source of light
Yep.
and it's incredibly intense. In fact, it's too intense in the middle.
Yeah, you
You'll
get the
see-
hot spot.
Exactly, you get a hot
You've
spot
got
in
a
the middle.
sweet spot, and then
Exactly.
you've got no spot.
Exactly, exactly. So that's the other extreme where you have a point source of light, and those
Yeah.
are, you know, have their own issues compared to the highly distributed. Our architecture is a little bit different. It's a distributed architecture with very intense light, but instead of having 1,000 watts in one spot, we're dividing it into 4 that are 150s each.
Which gets a lot more pinpoints of light, so you're getting
Correct.
a lot more penetration on the plants next to it. So you're getting the light down into the canopy.
Correct.
So you don't have to strip up the bottoms as much because they're actually now going to get light and
Exactly.
actually produce.
Exactly. In fact, there's multiple benefits of it. Because the light now comes in, you know, at an angle.
Yeah.
So your actual shade is drastically reduced because it's coming in like this, and you have the intensity that's enough with 150 watts compared to a single watt, hundreds of emitters all over the place coming in.
Interesting.
So it's
So
really
it's better to be able to break these up into smaller
absolutely.
light points.
Absolutely. This architecture that we have chosen is specifically to address the issues with the highly distributed,
Yeah.
you know, hundreds of, you know, 1 watt or sub 1 watt
Yeah.
lights.
Which you have to get
versus-
right down on top of them.
Exactly, versus
Same
the
thing.
extreme opposite, which is a super bright 1,000 watts that ends up,
You've kind
you
of
know,
gone down the middle of the road.
exactly. We've gone to kind of taken
So-
the best of both worlds.
And obviously, LED technology, you're never going to replace the bulb. You don't have to clean it.
Mhm.
So, obviously, what's the life rating on a light like this?
So the life rating on this one is expected over 60 months, so 5 years. We give 100% warranty for 3 years, so you have nothing to worry about. And because we're running them much, much cooler than everybody else, we're able to, you know, to project that these will last much longer even than comparable LEDs.
So, I was at your laboratory, and I've been watching you over the last year and a half. How long have you been developing
It's been
this?
about a year and a half.
So about a year and a half. And I've actually got to test some of your prototypes.
Mhm.
Some of them are a little too bright. These are really bright, but I've had stuff that, you know, we've tried, it was too bright. But I've seen the difference in the wiring that you use inside of these lights.
Mhm.
Other LED lights, it just looks like a hair wiring though.
Mhm. Mhm.
And the wiring you're using in these is much thicker. So
Yeah.
what's the difference in gauge wire average for an average LED light compared to what you guys are doing? Because I know when you did this, you wanted to go overboard on quality
Mhm.
so that there wasn't problems down the road. And
Absolutely.
I've seen how you've done stuff. It's
Yeah.
not, you know, you're actually soldering connections together instead of using plug and plays. And obviously with a plug and play in a greenhouse, you've got that expansion contraction through heat and cold, which causes condensation, which causes corrosion. And that's the biggest problem with lights in greenhouses is corrosion and vibration. So what have you done to solve that problem?
So we've kind of taken a very safe approach because we just don't want any RMAs. We don't even though we
Yeah.
offer the warranty.
Returns, we don't want
Returns are a
returns.
pain in the neck.
Yep.
Yeah, they're a pain in the neck for everybody,
Everybody.
and especially for the manufacturer. So
Yeah.
we took a safe approach and tried to be over-design things using them. When things call for a certain gauge wire. For example, one of our suppliers wanted us to use a particular Molex. Sorry for giving an actual name, but
Yep.
that was 28 gauge, and we said, wait a minute, no.
28 gauge is like
it's
my
like,
hair.
Right, exactly, and that's crazy, And even though they're convenient, you can just plug them in. We said no way.
Yeah.
So we chose to go a different route. We actually use 18 gauge wires, even though for the 1.7 or 0.8 amps, whichever
Yeah.
power we happen to be running, then it's way over designed, and we were okay with that because if it saves us one RMA out of 1,000 units,
Everybody's happy.
it's already paid for itself.
So bottom line is 40% probably electrical savings,
Mhm.
not to mention the lack of heat, which you can add another 20% to that.
That's
So,
about
so your
right.
electric bills are probably gonna dive in an indoor operation, 60%.
Mhm.
In your greenhouse, you're not gonna have to vent as much. So that actually gives you the option to run CO2 in a greenhouse environment,
Mhm.
which is great.
Mhm.
For light depping, you're just gonna have the white lights.
Mhm.
If you actually want to add to your blooming, so say we're getting less than 12 hours of light a day, and we want to supplement a little in the bloom, we can turn these on,
Right.
which you can just do by a flip of a switch.
Correct.
So you've got that. You've got 7 to or plus years longevity in your light. You're not going to replace it.
Mhm.
So we're not cleaning these. We're not replacing bulbs.
Oh, you're not
So-
replacing reflectors.
Oh, that's right. On the big G's,
Uh-huh.
climbing up on 18-foot ladders
Mhm.
to
Correct.
change
And that's not-
reflectors.
and that's
That was
not
one of
fun.
my things that I did because I didn't want anybody else doing because it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a crappy job to have to
Yeah.
do. So
You don't want to do
there's
that.
no maintenance
and,
here.
And
You
the
don't-
truth
nothing.
is, yeah, exactly. So you don't have any replacement costs on the
Amazing.
light bulbs. You don't have any replacement costs on the reflectors. You're saving money up front because these are very cost-effective fixtures, and your operating costs drop significantly. So there's multiple benefits, and up front when you're installing them, it's a much easier, cheaper, faster way to get them up and running.
Yeah, it's plug and
so-
play. I'm not hiring a master electrician to come in
Exactly.
and plug and play. You don't need a permit. You just you get your gang box going and then you run them.
Yep. They're appropriate for small greenhouses, for indoor grows, but the benefits are amplified for the larger. The larger the greenhouse, the more
More money you're
amplified
gonna
these come in.
So you've actually just launched these. You have done a couple of tests in some greenhouses. I've done some testing for you.
Mhm.
What is the greenhouse feedback?
They're loving it. So we have several of our beta sites where even though we were still in beta, they said, no, we want to buy more. And we were like, no, we're not ready to sell you more. But, they twisted our arms and we ended up giving more. And they've had fantastic results with them. They're very, very happy. They're very
So these
even.
guys are filling their greenhouse with these and
Correct.
ripping out the other stuff that they have.
Correct. We've had them tested against CMHs. We've had them tested against HPS. And they've done phenomenally well
So
with all applications.
what's the ROI on something like this? Your return of investment, you're to buy this light,
Uh-huh.
I know the pricing you're still kind of working on because they were just launched. We're working on that too, trying to find the best price point for people.
Yeah.
But just call it $300 a light, just for round numbers. What would be your ROI compared to an equivalent, call it a 600 watt light in a greenhouse environment with, say, 20 lights?
Yeah, it depends on, obviously, on
Sure, a lot of
who you're comparing it to, the cost up front, and your power costs and so on.
Roughly.
But roughly, I'd say on average, it's probably going to be about 9 months at most where you're.
So 9 months,
ROI.
these lights are free.
Yeah, they're paid for themselves essentially. I mean, by running these, you're saving a lot, and you add up your, at 300 lights. I mean, if you think of the alternatives on the bulbs, those can range anywhere from $65 to $100. You
Yep.
have the reflectors that are typically $30 to $50. depending on the brand.
So reflectors are every year or two, depending on the brand, you're gonna
Correct.
replace those. Those were,
Correct.
what, $45 each typically? for
Yeah,
reflectors?
it's
You've
in
got
that range.
Bulbs, just call it, $70, $80 each for
Yeah.
bulbs.
If you think about bulbs by themselves,
Every 3 crops.
right.
you're
Right.
replacing
So
bulbs.
once a year you're replacing a bulb. 70. Let's assume $70
Yeah.
over a 5-year period.
I
You're
have to
paying.
do it twice a year.
Yeah.
I have to replace bulbs.
But let's be conservative and say once a year.
Okay,
At 300 at $70 times 5, you're paying $350 for bulb replacement only, not counting your actual cost of the fixture itself.
yeah.
Over 5, you get a $300. You're paying typically $300 or less, depending on the volume. In volume, they can go
Yep.
down quite a bit below that, but they're very, very cost effective from that point of view, and that's in addition to the
No
other
more
savings.
maintenance, no more lights, no more loss of light through a hood, no more cleaning hoods,
Mhm.
no more bulbs going out.
Correct. We want to make life as easy as possible for
That's
our
it.
growers, and that's
Well,
was always our whole intent, both from the structure, from the pricing structure, and from the installation, and from the design itself. We want to make your
Awesome.
life easier because as a grower, you have a lot of other things, headaches that you have to take care
hey,
of.
if you can save money for growers,
Mm-hmm.
you can reduce heat, you can reduce maintenance, you can reduce labor in putting these in. If I can just go plug and play a few of these in some greenhouses.
Mhm.
And now, it's the big thing in a lot of these off-grid guys is, they gotta run generators.
Mhm.
And that's, it's a bad idea to be able to do. But
Mhm.
if now one 4,000 watt generator is running 200-foot long greenhouses,
Mhm.
hey, that's doable.
Mhm.
Well, Simon, thank you so much for bringing these in. Let's
Let's do
get
a little
these out
plug
to
for the
people.
original 420.
Hey, hit us
brand.
up at original420brand.com. We'll have these lights up soon. Like I said, this is brand new to the market. We're bringing it to you here first. An original 420 brand. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.